Cool. So, welcome everybody to the Halo Dickheads podcast. This one's not being streamed just due to technical considerations. As you can see, our usual host is currently in the drive-through getting his Donnies on, it looks like. So, I'm going to be trying my hand at doing this time. When it completely sucks, you can blame me. Today, we have a different panel than usual. We've got the returning champion, Goat Manjaro. We're going to hear all about him. We've got our new friend, our new affiliate, VHSFuture, who I've heard is an aspect of divine intervention. He's kind of like the Deus Ex Machina of the story, from what I've been told. It's kind of interesting to me. We've got Repentancy, who has no camera and is trying to get some kind of a digital solution working. Hopefully we get something like that. And, of course, myself, who just sat around and heard the story and giggled. So the recent event that we want to talk about the most is going to be the recent Halo 2 PAX tournament, the MCC PAX tournament, Pax West, that Goatman just attended and managed to win for us with VHSFuture and a couple other random people. So I think we're just going to get right into it so that, Blake can give a little bit of commentary and while we have everybody here, because I'm not sure how people's schedules are, so let's just try to get right into this.
Okay, so I think I want to start off by getting a third party perspective, and that is cassette, you know, or VHS, but
Are,
I
are
want to
you,
get like I want to get your like perspective on us and your perspective on how you heard about me or about us, and kind of like what your first impressions were when you met me and the whole how the whole thing unraveled from your perspective.
yeah, so I heard about you guys through LD50. He basically like texted me like day of, and he's like, "Hey, if you're going for the Halo 2 tournament, you should look for this guy. He's a good slayer, good player."
What what
Um,
did what did LD tell you? Did he say Goatman's okay? Did he say he's really good? What was the deal? You got to
I
give us
don't
the
remember
gossip. You
exactly.
won now. You can say whatever you want.
Yeah, I don't remember exactly other than like you should look out for this
You should look
guy,
out for
which I assume meant they were good. So.
the glow in his eyes from across the room. If you
um,
ask anybody online, I'm bad. So
But no, the picture he sent me, like he literally, like I saw it like as I was standing in that line to like check in, and I was like, I looked up and it's like, oh shit, yeah, the picture's right there.
you
So
got
yeah, and then I was like, hey, do you know LD50? And you're like, yeah. So that's how I got introduced to the group, or to you, I guess. What else? Uh, as far as the tournament itself goes, it's
what about like the fellowship of the teams? How I put it all together.
that was
Yeah,
pretty cool. That was pretty cool. Like, because when we formed that team, like basically out of thin air, like like literally moments
like
after I introduced
like
myself, we had the two other people come up, and
yeah.
they were like, I know remember you were basically asked them like, "Are you good?" And they was like, "Yeah." The other
Yeah,
guy, like, "Are you good?" Yeah. So
that was it.
I like to see
That
that
was the interview.
confidence. Yeah.
Yeah,
So
Yeah,
yeah.
can we get a little bit more into this? Because I talked with Goatman about this recently.
hmm
Goat, can you tell the story of how like this team was constructed, like on the fly, just based on like interviews and if people had the right look in their eyes and stuff? I think Blake and Rep especially will appreciate your captaincy skills in that regard.
oh, do you want me to talk about it?
Yeah. Go for it.
Okay, okay.
Like
So
how just we talked about this before. Like how
yeah,
the
yeah.
team
I'll, I'll, I'll
was
I'll
constructed
rewind.
on the fly.
I'll rewind all the way to the beginning
Yeah.
from my perspective, and that is so I this all started. This all minded because of like past events that I won, and me and Rep have been going back and forth to make sure that we get the credit that's due to our org for the tournament wins that we got towards Wikipedia and towards other websites. The online notoriety, not just the fact that we know that we won, but that the rest of the world knows that we're winners too. And one thing led to another, and we were going through like the Wayback Machine looking at past events, and I was for some reason I don't know why I was like, let me check this year, like what's going on this year. So I refreshed the page. It goes to 2024. I scroll down the itinerary. I'm like, all the way at the bottom. I'm like, holy shit, no fucking way. And Rep's like, what? I was like, there's a fucking Halo 2 tournament. But all it said was Halo 2 tournament. It didn't say fours. It didn't say FFA. I didn't know 2v2. I didn't know what it was. It didn't say OG. It didn't say MCC. It didn't say anything. It just said Halo 2 tournament. So I tried my damnedest to get like a team together, like a just in case team that I could show up with that like could carry. And everybody was like, I took an arrow to the knee. Oh, you know how it is. Just it was excuse after excuse of like why nobody could be there. And I was like, all right, whatever. If nobody else is going to show up, I'm going to show up. So I just show up and I pull up by myself with controller and backpack, like those little string backpacks.
Yeah, the sports bags.
I just threw a couple of I threw like an OG controller because I really didn't know. I threw an OG Xbox controller and I threw a fucking like a modern Xbox controller in there. So I had either way. I could go either way. And I show up and I just have controllers in my bag. And I was wearing, talk about the size of the balls I had. I was wearing 2 of these chains before I even had the third. I show up with these hanging off my neck. Like this, everyone's looking at me like this cocky motherfucker. He doesn't even have a team. And he's wearing championship chains around his neck like he's about to do something. He ain't about to do shit, right? So I show up and they're like, I think it was like at the time it was like 64 man, which would be breakdown of 16 teams, right? And so they had a 16 team bracket, and like I think it was already like 90% full by the time I pulled like around. It was like 2 p.m. Like the tournament didn't start till like later in the day, like 8 p.m. And like it was already almost full, and I was like, oh shit. I was like, hey guys, do you mind if I sign up? I don't have. They're like, do you have a team? What's your team? And I was like, I don't have a team. But I was like, if you do have to put me down as a team, put Colt Zodiac. So they put me as Team Colt Zodiac, and it was just me by myself showing up at a team of 4 event, right? And I'm just representing for Zodiac, right? And so I pull up and I sign up, and I'm like, all right, I'm like, there's plenty of gamers in this room. I mean, the size of the tournament room was like literally the size of a fucking Walmart, right? So there's like, I mean, you could ask VHS. There was like thousands of people there, right? So I'm like, there's no way in hell I can't get 3 other people to play with me. And the day goes by, I enjoy the rest of PAX. I come back, and I'm trying to catch like stragglers. I'm trying to catch anyone like kind of like poking their head around the table, anyone that I can see that has any type of interest. And I noticed this one guy's like, hey, can I set up for the tournament? They're like, do you have a team? He's like, no. I was like, nope, that's my teammate right there. That's my teammate. And they're like, what? I'm like, yeah, he's with me. Yeah, we're signing up. He's on Zodiac, right? Like some guy. I didn't even know his first name. So I get this guy, right? And I'm like, are you good? And he's like, no, not really. I'm like, good enough. It'll work, right? So it's me and a guy who's not good, right? And I'm like, all right, fuck. Okay. I'm like looking for somebody else, and some other random dude goes, oh, are you guys looking for a team? I'm like, yeah. He's like, well, I signed up already, but I don't have a team. I'm like, good, you're with us. Boom, we have 3, right? And then once again, a 4th guy shows up, and he's like, I'm looking for a team. I'm like, great, boom, you're with me. And as soon as I pull the 4th guy, VHS is like standing right over my left shoulder, and he looks at me and goes, hey, man. He's like, is your name Goatman or Goatman or whatever? And I was like, and I'm looking at him like, do I got beef with this guy? Like, I don't know who this guy is. You know what I'm saying? I was like, I don't know. He's like, hey, you Goatman? He's a pretty solid dude. He's like 6 foot something, right? 6.5, whatever. And I'm like, look at this guy. I'm like, yeah, what's it to you? Like, what's up? And he's like, oh, yeah. I was like, he's like, Zach? And I'm like, Zach what? I forgot his last name, but LD50, right? He goes, Zach from NorCal. And I was like, LD50? And he was like, yeah. I was like, fuck yeah, I know Zach. I was like, he's Zodiac. So I was like, what's up? I was like, are you playing? And he's like, oh, I don't have a team. And I was like, well, they had a guy, and he didn't say he was good at the very beginning. So I was like, I kicked him off the team immediately. Boom, boom, you're off the team. Right? I was like, all right, you're on the team, VHS. Boom. So that's how we made our 4. And I asked the guys, I was like, are you guys good at Halo? One of them was like, yeah, I play Halo 3. I'm good at Halo 3. I'm like, you don't play Halo 2? He's like, no, but I'm good at Halo 3. I was like, good enough. The other guy said he was good at Halo 2. The guy didn't know any of the fucking call-outs. He didn't know P1. He didn't know shit, right?
Oh, Jesus. No way.
Yeah, he didn't know a fucking thing. You could ask VHS. VHS, did this guy know a single fucking call-out?
I feel like he knew a couple, but I might be misremembering. But he didn't know all of them.
Yeah, for the most part.
But
For the most
like
part,
he was missing like basic ones though,
yeah,
right? Like
basic.
he
Like,
wouldn't
yeah,
tell you
he's
like
like,
P
"Where's
side on.
B2?" He's like, "Where's B2?"
Holy shit.
He's like,
Okay.
"What's carbine?" He's like, "What's
Oh.
carbine?" I'm like, right? I'm like, "Oh, dude." I'm like, "Oh my god, we're not going to survive. We're not going to make it through the trenches. We're just, it's D-Day. We're not making it off the beach. We're going to get mowed down on the beach, right?" And I was like,
Walshy, and he's like, "There's no kid named Walshy in here."
I tell you what, let me interrupt for a second.
What's
think,
up, Rick?
I think it was a miracle the fact that they switched to MCC when most of the other PAX events were original Xbox, which I know you're about to get into that.
yeah,
That's the one that you're best at.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
I've something there too. When
ahead.
they were setting up, like we're waiting for them to set up. They were originally going to run not on OG Xbox. They were originally going to run Halo 2 backwards compat on 360, and I was like, oh no, because I've had bad experiences with that. At least on split screen before. The performance is terrible.
I got the videos, I got the photos, I got everything. They had all the LAN tables hooked up, all wired up, all 360s, all S-type, not S-type, but the 360 controller. Yeah, it was the S-type, right? No, that was the smaller
USB.
OG.
You're thinking of the Japanese original Xbox controller, but yeah, it's the same thing.
360. They had the 360, the white 360 controllers, right?
Yep.
And they were all set up, and I was like, I remember I had like a little prep talk with my team before we started. I was like, look, guys, I saw who else was signing up. Like, so, hey, Blake, you remember Dragonite?
Yeah.
I was coaching. He had a team there, and he got all of his players that were at Worlds. So like his whole team was Worlds players that played up. So when we played at Worlds, his whole team was made up that he literally sniped. He like recruited players from different Worlds teams and made a Worlds team. And then him being, Dragonite being the ref of Worlds, he fucking played against me, right?
Yeah.
That's a whole other story. But
was he shaking in his boots?
Oh, dude, I mean, he was kind of nervous to play. He was like, watch out for Goat. He's telling everybody, watch out for Goat, watch out for Goat, right? And then there was another guy there. He was wearing a Space Station hoodie. There was a few guys there with MLG hoodies on. Like, there was people over twitching. There was people, like, they were set up, right? But I remember I huddled with my team. I was like, look, guys. I was like, you may not know the call-outs. You may not, I was like, you may or may not have the skill. But I was like, remember me saying this, VHS? I was like, you know what beats?
Yeah.
I was like, you know what beats skill? You know what beats having a nasty shot? They're like, what? I was like, teamwork and positioning. I was like, as long as you guys listen to where I say to go and you hold that spot and you watch and then you crisscross, I was like, leave the rest up to me. Leave the rest up to me. I got this. And that's what happened. Is I literally was like, hey, we were at lockout. I was like, you're gonna be in this library window. I told VHS you're gonna be at B3. I told the other guys like, you're gonna watch my open. I'm gonna grab snipe and I'm gonna go to work. Right? Oh shit, we lost somebody. Who did we lose? We lost Blake.
I think Blake's like, just driving back to work or something. We'll get him back in a sec. Just keep going.
Okay. But yeah, I was like, what's gonna, we were shaky on the first game when we first played, and let me rewind a little bit. So they said, oh, all right, we're gonna start these 360s. I think one of the consoles couldn't fire up the disc or something. And so, like, very, very last minute, right when we're about to start the tournament, they're like, "Oh, we're gonna play MCC. We're not playing OG no more." And I remember being like, "Yes," and everybody else was like, "No," And so there was like, I think one team straight walked out after they heard that. They just walked out. They didn't even want to play. But what was cool about it was there was way more than 64 people. There was like almost 100. I remember it got to like 80 something, and then I stopped counting. But there was like there was way more teams at the event. It was almost double than what the initial sign-up was. So it was like, even though a team walked out, we didn't care because there was so many extra teams. And it went so long, it went way, way past where it was supposed to go, like hours after it was supposed to go, went into like hours, like past the event being closed.
Yeah.
And I don't want to get too far ahead, so I'm going to kind of rewind back a little bit. But I remember we were a little shaky on the first game, but we won. And when we won, I kind of saw like where people were at. I was like, okay, you're holding this part down good. You're doing this. You're doing that. I was kind of like coaching them through the process. And after we won the first event, I started watching the other teams, and it was really like you didn't know until the finals where it was going to be, because there were no close games. Like every game was like one team blowing out another team. You know how it is on Halo 2. The skill curve is insane. So we were watching teams like beat other teams like 50-10, like completely crush them, right? And then we'd have to play those guys, and then we'd beat them, and be like, oh shit, well, okay, well, and then we'd see another team get beat 50-10. We're like, well, fuck, how good are these people? So you really had to be on your toes like the whole time. That, and I also recognized like at least 20% of the guys that were from Worlds were there. I didn't know their names, but I recognized their faces. I was like, I remember I kept saying to you, VHS, I was like, watch out for this guy. You see that guy in the black shirt? Watch out for that guy. Watch out for this guy. I was like, I know these guys, And then we'd watch their gameplay. We'd be standing over their shoulder, while we're waiting for our turn to go back up, and we'd be watching other teams and seeing like how they move, who's grabbing snipe, where are they moving with it, like kind of like learning your enemy before you play. And
Yeah.
and every person I told you to watch out for, they would be like, good, kill it, just murking. Do you have anything you want to add? Because I know I've been talking a lot.
I was gonna say, man. So we're gonna like rewind, like before the first game VHS. So I see you're in like a sick retro gaming cave. Mad respect.
Yeah, I'm actually at the MADE, which is the Museum of Art, Digital Entertainment in Oakland. It's like a video game museum. I volunteer there, so.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. So yeah. I'm imagining that you were just at the event at PAX to like just hang out. I'm sure they had a retro games expo. I've been to PAX West before, so.
Yeah, it was my first time going actually. So I saw they had an Halo tournament, and I was like, I gotta be a part of this.
Yeah, that's awesome, dude. So like, what's your because I know you play with like LD and stuff, so you're a good player. But like, can you give us a little bit of your history with the game and stuff, just to introduce you to the fans?
So a crazy thing. That was my first ever real competitive game I ever played. I played with LD, but it was always like just kind of at the local LAN, just kind of like hanging out. I mean, I guess they're really good, so it is competitive in a way. But I grew up with the game, and I got to the point where like I was always like, whenever I played with my friends, they hated playing with me because I just kicked their asses every time. So when I got to meet LD,
keep going, man. Yeah.
When I got to meet LD, it was nice to have like some people that were actually like on like a challenge,
Perfect. So you mostly H2 then for you, or CE, or just
interestingly mostly H3 growing up. H3 is the one I have the most, I would say, probably playtime with, that and Reach. But when I started playing with LD, we were playing a lot of like classic H2, and then when Insignia came out, I played a bunch of that. Like I still play a bunch of H2 on Insignia. So I've kind of grown to like Halo 2 more, I think, as a game, just because there's just something about it with the way the BR works, and then you get like the button combos and the strats and stuff. There's this like next level to it that I really enjoy.
Yeah, from an individual level, Halo 2 is a super deep game. Halo CE and Halo 2 are like, there's a lot of skill expression, and that a better player can like just invincibly slaughter the other team, right? Like the difference between you and other people on an individual level is really high. Not to say that like 3 or Reach aren't really deep games. They are strategically, but they don't have that aspect of like, you can BXR someone and instantly kill them, or like do a double melee or whatever and CE or get the headshots or whatever. Yeah, so that's a really cool aspect. I'm kind of the same way. I started with like CE and 2 when I was way younger, but the Halo 3 was coming out basically by the time that I was playing Halo 2, like a little bit after. So I kind of looped back for H2 as well. Do you play on MCC a lot, or like the classic consoles with LD?
I'd say we mostly do. It's either classic H2 with LD or H1 and 2, and Infinite. I don't think we do too much MCC over there.
Not too much MCC. So this is like your first competitive experience. It feels different, right? You know what I mean? Compared to the classic console. Yeah, even on LAN. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, like when we do events at LD's place, like we would do the call-outs and stuff, but it's different when you've got like when you're actually in that environment, you've got like people watching, So
Yeah.
Oh, of course, yeah. Well, I meant in terms of like the way that the game feels as well, right? Because there's the
Yeah,
frame rate difference, but also like the places that people spawn are a little bit different on like
yeah.
the Vista port or whatever. Like I'm not a super expert on the MCC version, but I've noticed that the spawn system's very slightly different. The shot registration feels slightly different, even when you're playing people on the same console, right? So
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely a difference between the MCC and the
yeah,
original versions. I would say it's probably the frames is probably the biggest
the
difference
frame
for
rate, yeah,
me, but there's a couple other little things that just feel slightly different.
yeah. I find that
Even on the
the
original, like playing on an LCD versus a CRT feels different. So,
yeah, like
go ahead.
the clarity of the motion and the fact that it's like widescreen always just mind fucks me
Yeah.
when
I,
playing like
I
Halo 2
wanted
and MCC.
I wanted to ask VHS, what was your first impression of me? Because I know it can come off very eccentric. I guess the word is. What was your first impression of me? Like, were you like, dude, this guy's crazy. Like, we're not gonna win, but like, I'll play, or like, what was going on in your head? Like when you first like,
Uh, well, I knew you. Like, I had like a gut feeling like, oh yeah, this guy's good. Like, I mean, he talks up a lot, but like, I think he can probably back that up.
yeah.
Part of that was when
You
I
remember the teammate we had? Well, yeah,
yeah,
go
I
ahead and
do.
finish your thought. Yeah, but go ahead and say finish your thought and talk about after that. Talk about what the guy said or our teammate did when I went to go to the bathroom.
Yeah, there were two things for me. Like, is like, I'm like, oh yeah, if he knows Zach and he's in that circle, then he's got to have some level of skill at least, probably at par with or above mine. I think the other thing too is I mistook you for somebody I run into on Insignia repeatedly. There was a guy on Insignia who like just wrecked me like so bad. I remember, and I like remember his name because of that. But I thought it was Goatman, and I turns out like that's what I was thinking the whole time. And then afterwards, we were like getting pizza, and he's like, I was never on Insignia. I'm like, what?
Yeah,
So
yeah,
there's some weird Mandela effect stuff going on there, but that definitely started
And
to
yeah.
like, oh yeah,
can
this
I
guy
say,
wrecked me. He's pretty good.
He got
Yeah,
wrecked
you
by
can jump
me
in
in a
rep.
game I never
You can jump
played.
in rep.
yeah, another thing too, I think there's the fact that Goat is very, very observant. Just in terms of how he watches players, who like him just saying who to look out for. Just anytime you know somebody's very observant like that, I always know that somebody's really good. So, I mean, the fact that he was already calling out people um, at the event before you guys even played him. But what's crazy
Yeah,
is the entire time that you guys were playing the event, like I was doing stuff in the background for Colt Zodiac because I unfortunately couldn't make it to this PAX event.
Yeah,
Because I was overseas. I would have loved to have gone, but yeah, I that's one thing I can say about Goat. He's very observant. That's how I've gotten better at this game, just observing others. So anybody that's observant, those are the people that you got to watch out for.
yeah.
They'll use that against you for sure.
but
And I think
but
like once he started coaching too, like when he started like talking about like positioning and kind of telling the people like what the other players were doing. Like I remember at that final game, you were telling me, oh, these guys are going to play more aggressively. So if you're on B3, you should probably hang back further than you usually would.
yeah,
But I think like you broke things down in a very like easy to explain way, so that when we went to those respective roles, there wasn't a lot of confusion, and I
yeah.
think that was a big
I,
factor
I,
in our success.
yeah, I think breaking things down in a real like simple, easy to very digestible chunks. Like it makes it so when you're in like in the moment where it's like fight or flight, you just go right to that simple that simple order, and it's like yeah, I go here. This is what I do. And I already knew playing the guys because the guys we ended up playing, I called at the beginning of the tournament. I was like, we're gonna meet these guys again in the finals. And the finals came, and those were the guys that I said. I was like, these are the guys we're gonna play for the championship. And it was those guys. And I was like, these guys are gonna be cocky. They're riding that high right now. They're enforcing their will on the other teams. And I was like, they're gonna push top mid. And lo and behold, they push top mid. And I was like, when they push top mid, I don't want you to be on the front of BR3 because if you start taking shots, you're going to get team shot. You're going to die before you can make it halfway back, right? And then
Yeah,
they're going to push me, and we're going to be fucked, right? So I was
Yeah.
like, I need you to stay alive. So I was like, BR them from the back of BR3. So if you do take fire, you do have a chance to bend that corner and not just get team shotted and be dead before you turn around. And that was a key factor. And I'll say this: going into the semifinals and the final 3 games we played, not to sit here and toot my own horn or anything, but I went completely off, and I could actually tell you guys the stats because I have them all screenshotted. Because after every game, I was taking a picture of. You saw me taking a picture, but yeah. Let me rewind it. Let me go back.
Yeah, I was gonna say so.
Let's go back.
So we're right now we're like about to play our first game in the tournament, right?
Okay, so we'll bring it back.
Yeah. So let's bring it back, right? We now know how you guys met, what you thought of Goat Man, like your experience, because you're probably like the second best player on the team. Just so we got a little bit of perspective outside of maybe our kind of insular community.
Oh yeah, he was key. He was key.
Yeah,
Without him, I was done. Yeah.
Yeah. So you have the team together. You've got a Halo 3 player. You've got a guy who played some Halo 2, doesn't know where P side on midship is, which is concerning. You're about to go into your first match. Like how does going through the bracket work out for you guys?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, you want me to talk about?
Yeah. Just start wherever the games start to become like interesting, right? Because
Okay,
I don't care when you 50-10 people in pools or whatever, right? But like when does it start becoming a real tournament run?
I would say the final 3. It goes back to the end. That's when it started getting interesting. But
Okay.
I'll say the shakiest game was our first game. The shakiest game was our first game. It was very like, we were kind of like figuring it out. We were like feeling it out. There was a lot of kill trading going on. Nobody kind of like went off. We were all like building chemistry on the first game. But we stuck to our strats and we stuck to our guns, and it panned out. And once I started seeing, like I said, on the first game told me everything I needed to know about everybody I was playing with. And everybody put up solid numbers on the first game. Nobody broke away, but nobody shit the bed. And so I was like, all right, I'm confident that we'll be able to hold strat. And as long as these guys hold these positions, I'm going to be able to do what I need to do. So, yeah, I mean, it was as simple as that. It was just a lot of wash, rinse, and repeat, just going up the bracket, going up Mount Championship, of just like taking out team after team after team, But like I said, it wasn't until like the later hours of the tournament where things got like really interesting, and it got to the point near the final games where almost every game, like the time almost ran out completely. I think the time did run out completely on the final game, or it was about to.
I think we did score, but we were definitely like trying to run out the clock at some points. I think in the final game.
It's hilarious because like I've played with you so much, Goat, that I know how you play.
Yeah,
and I know that we struggle a lot of times when we play MCC. That like we normally don't play with the top players because most of the top players just don't play with us. So normally we're used to getting anybody that we can get to play with us and put on our team. So I know how you are. You're very good at figuring out the strengths and weaknesses of even like just average players that we come across, and how to take advantage of their skill sets. And from what you showed me with the last 3 screenshots, I imagine how it went down. If I were just to guess, you had them set up in a position to where you had the most cover, and you had the most access to all the power positions, all the weapons, all the goodies.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
And I actually explained that to him in between every game. I was like, look, my success is all owed to you guys. I'm not going to sit here and be like, oh, I carried you guys to the final. Like, no, bro. Like, I was able to do what I did because of VHS, because of Gunna, because of Argata Guns, because of Gambit. Those are their names.
A lot of people don't realize how big of a deal just holding a stupid position is. Like our strat on Gemini with a guy that's just endlessly swinging a sword.
Just standing on a specific piece of floor. I'm like, you realize if you don't kill anybody and all you do is stand on this specific piece of floor, you block half of the map. They're like, what? And I'm like, yeah. By you standing here, they will not spawn on this half of the map. We have now pinned them. Your one stance has now pinned a whole team of 4 to the one corner of the map, and people are like, they don't understand how spawns work, so they're like, I don't get it, and I'm like, just trust me, just stand there, trust me, and they're like, okay, and then they're like, why do they? And then the other team's like, why do we keep spawning in the same spot over and over and over again? And it's because one guy is fucking your whole day by standing still in one spot. I tell people like this, man. Even a pawn on a chessboard can win you the game. A pawn can take out a king. A pawn. You don't need a fancy bishop. You don't need a knight. You don't need a rook. You don't need all that. Even the tiniest piece, any piece on a chessboard can win you the game. And there's something to be, not to say that these people are tiny pieces or they're insignificant or something like that. But what I'm trying to say is I was trying to tell them at the very beginning, our positioning and our strategy can win you games against people who are literally like put up better numbers, better KD, higher win rates, better, clutch shots, better at double shotting than you, better at BXRing than you. But if they can't get to you, what is the point of that? If they get into a gunfight with you and they're getting shot from 3 different angles at the same time, and then a sniper round goes through their head from over here in left field, doesn't matter how good you are.
There's something really interesting that my father told me the other day while playing a lot of the mobile games that he's playing. He's very good at strategy games, and my father told me, he says he never follows any meta. He'll look up the metas online, but he'll never follow them. He says because one thing that you'll always realize when you get really good at these games is there's something that you always miss within the meta, something that you can take advantage of that other players can't see. And once you start finding these things, and you start realizing these things, it doesn't matter how good the other team is, because you are literally creating your own strategy that no one else can think of. So I've seen it firsthand, some of the strats, and the new strats, mind you, that we still find to this day, like the one on Ivory Tower, the spawn trap on Ivory Tower. There's new things that we still find every day that other people have no idea. And it's just all a matter of experimenting.
I was teaching somebody because we had one guy left in Beaver Creek yesterday or the day before. Like, no, you weren't even home yet. So it was like a couple days ago. And there was one guy hiding. And I was playing with the team before, and they were so frustrated. They're like, we can't kill this guy. He keeps hiding. I'm like, this is so dumb. We're going to waste 15 minutes. I was like, you guys want me to spawn trap him? And they're like, yeah. I was like, you stand here, you stand here, you stand here. He's going to spawn in this one spot 50 times in a row. And he did. Spawn trap, spawn trap. The guy got hella mad at the 49th kill. He rage quit out. I just putting a sniper round through his head right off spawn. Bam, bam, bam. He's jumping up in the air right off spawn. He's trying to do anything, trying to shoot, trying to throw nades. Boom, boom, boom. And eventually he just rage quit out. They're like, how did you do that? And I was like, knowledge of the game, man. Like just being able to I use my teammates like pieces on a chessboard. And if you can corner someone, you can corner, like, it's checkmate, or it's check or checkmate. And we don't have to move. We've got the whole chessboard covered. Like if you move here, my bishop's going to get you. If you move here, my pawn's going to jump you. If you move here, my knight's going to get you. What are you going to do? We just sit there and wait. Your move. That's what on the finals. I was like, your move.
What's
remember?
Beautiful?
Peekaboo. Remember that VHS? Peekaboo.
I do remember that. That was good.
Yeah. Every time there would be a guy in S2, and he would Gandhi hop like backwards from like S2 to try to get a view of like BR3, and you could see his head for like a half second, and I'd go boom and just snipe him every fucking time. I'd be like, every time I hit one of them, and I'd teach him a lesson, I'd go peekaboo, peekaboo, and yell. They heard me on the other side. They were getting so fucking frustrated. It was a game of psychology at that point. These guys are literally probably have better skill than my guys, but if I psychologically beat them and they're scared, they don't push because they're already mentally beat.
But in a funny way, the average guys that you have on your team, you help them excel. So you actually, even though they didn't put up numbers, you actually help them play exceptionally for teamwork and winning a tournament. That's something that everybody that was on that team should be proud of, including you, VHS. Playing your position, playing your part. I mean, you might not be what you consider the sweatiest, most accurate player of all time, but the fact that you played your role, you're equally a champion compared to GOAT. That's the way I see it. I always look at it that way. Every teammate that's on a team that plays their part, it's important.
Yeah, I mean, in games, that's important, is knowing like what role you play and and owning that role. That's really important in teams. Like if you're FFA, then yeah, you play sweaty, but if you're playing a team, you play for the whole team to win, not just you.
If you don't mind me asking, coming from the perspective of like going into this tournament thinking like you don't have a lot of experience on MCC, coming out as the winner and like knowing that you played your role and you played it well, what were you feeling yourself at the end of the tournament? How are you feeling?
I would say satisfied was probably the most feel. Like I felt like
we
I
had victory
really was
pizza.
able to. I was I liked the fact that like I had a role to play and I just owned that role. I was top of BR3. I was just harassing all the guys down below. I was watching BR1, the ramp coming up in case people were coming up. I just I was given a role and I owned it. So I was proud of that.
I was telling them everybody like I was like, look at Tom Brady in the Patriots. I was like, yeah, everyone's gonna look at Tom Brady like, oh yeah, Tom Brady, he's got all these rings and this and that. He's the star player. He's throwing the touchdown. But I was like, even the center who snaps to the ball is Brady. Even the guy who snaps that ball to Brady, he gets a Super Bowl ring too. The blockers, the running back, the wide receiver, everybody gets a Super Bowl ring. The guys on the bench, everybody who played a role gets a fucking ring. And I was like, guys, it doesn't like the roles that you may play may not be like the most. It's not maybe not even not the most glorious thing to be like. I was the guy who stood in the library window and looked at under glass. Like that's not the. It's not in your mind. You don't think of like, oh yeah, I ran over there and I got a no scope kill tack. Like no. But this is tournament play. This isn't Social Slayer. This isn't like shooting around with your boys. This isn't the LAN where we're all like eating pizza and drinking Mountain Dew and fucking with each other. And just kind of like we're calling out, but we're all just kind of running around. People call it teamwork. Like, oh, I'm going to call out. If I call where I died, that's teamwork. And basically everyone just runs around and goes, oh, yeah, one shot on my ex. That's not teamwork. That's not strategy. That's not. That's just calling out while you're doing your own thing. And people mistake that a lot of the times for actual like competitive teamwork. And it's kind of like the difference of like watching like a high school fight. It's just like people are just throwing haymakers getting thrown around everywhere versus watching Floyd Mayweather go to work. And he's just literally just like circling around the boxing ring, getting points and just like wearing down his enemies slowly. There's something to be said about a professional fighter versus a street fight. It's different. And there's something to be said about playing Halo online with your boys or in Social Slayer and
Right.
then playing competitively. And competition is very boring. It's very stalematy because when you're playing it, it's the same thing in professional fighting. It's very stalematy. Everyone's like, "Oh, just knock him out," but you can't just do that because one wrong punch and your button is hit and you're done. And the same thing is to be said about competitive. If you give somebody an inch and they take it, that's it. Like if they would have took me out and they all pushed and I died and VHS died at BR3 and they got snipe control, what are we gonna do? That could be it. That could be like it might take us 20 kills to get that position back,
Right.
and then it's too late. Like there's no room for error. Like if you lose, you're done. There was so many teams there. Most of the whole tournament was single elimination.
Right.
If you lose one game, you're done. So there's no room for error.
Another thing I'd like to bring up in this podcast that I'd like to talk about, going back to the very beginning, is actually how this whole scenario started with Liquipedia, me being overseas, and kind of like just getting irritated enough to take these PAX events to Liquipedia. Is that cool if we talk about that?
Yeah.
Um,
Or whatever.
I was gonna say just in case like VHS has to go. Like, are you still good for time? Just so we get.
Yeah, I've got another like 15 minutes probably.
Okay, yeah. So we'll talk about Liquipedia maybe when you already have to go, man. Thank you for coming on, by the way. It's been really cool having you. But
Yeah,
let's talk about like right near the end of the tournament, right? So it's getting late. The event's closing down. The games are becoming more difficult. Goatman, like I heard you got some crazy ass numbers. Let's like talk about that, and then like when you win, and just a little bit of closing thoughts. Let's just get that in the next 15 minutes.
Okay, so we stuck to our golden rule. Hold your positions, hold your strat. Let me do my thing. And obviously, I had the long gun. I had snipe. and I was just taking heads. And the thing is they tried making a lot of pushes from a lot of different positions, but every time they tried to push, my strat held true. I was like, hold the line. It's like being in the 300. You know, the what was the guys? What was the movie 300? It was a few
Shields.
versus many. You know, they do
Yeah.
the shields. And I'm like,
Yep.
hold the line, and everybody held the line. I'm like, don't push, hold the line. And they would press, and they were getting their shields pressed on, but they held the line. I was like, hold the line, and everybody held the line. And I was able to go. I think going into the finals, I went 16-0, perfection. Then I went the next game. I went 17-0 perfection, and in the final game, I went 20-4. So died a few times, you know, but I went 53-4 in the final 3 games of the tournament, which is like retarded. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, well, there was a lot of trading going on our team. There was a few games where some of our teammates did well, but the spread factor, that was the definitive factor, was the fact that I was able to go so positive that it was able to carry us over the points and keep that spread, that differential. But like I said, that spread that I got, the differential, everything, it all came down to the fact that my teammates held the line. If they would have broke, if one guy would have like whittled away and like, I'm gonna do my own thing, and we actually did that at the end. Do you remember that shit, VHS? Remember when we were winning?
Yeah.
And
I
what
remember
happened?
we
What
we
happened?
had that spread going, and we were like, all right, let's play have a little fun, let's play a little more aggressively, and sure enough, that spread started tightening up. So I was like, you know what, no, I'm gonna pull back and I'm gonna keep that roll. I'm gonna play it safe
Yeah,
till the win.
exactly. I was like, all right, everybody do their own thing. We got a nice spread going. All right, everybody do your own thing. They just dead. They started just like falling right into the meat grinder, and everyone's like, whoa. We backed up. We're like, fuck that. So, um, yeah, everybody got real wise real quick and realized the power of positioning and
And
strategy.
I
And
think that's a great demo too, of like the difference between like playing, matchmaking, social play or whatever, and playing competitive. Like when you're playing competitive, I mean, you have to play much more conservatively, I think, than you do when you're playing matchmaking. Matchmaking, you just run and gun. But
yeah, exactly. I mean, basically, there's no consequence in matchmaking, you know. Oh, I don't like this game, quit. Oh, 5 minute ban, whatever.
yeah,
I'll go make myself a sandwich and come back and play. Like, or I'm done for the day. I got a 15, 30 minute ban. Oh, I'll just play tomorrow. Yeah, there's no consequence to it. And that's why I love playing competitively. That's why I look so forward to competition, you know, is because it at that point it means something, you know. Like, you're not going to get nothing. What are you going to get? XP for winning a game online or nothing? You know, at least I can hang
yeah,
this on my wall and said, hey, there was a challenge I had in my life and I overcome it. And that's what this means to me. You know, it's the same thing with like if you had a college diploma on your wall. Like, yeah, I spent 4 fucking years or 8 years busting my ass learning, and this is proof that I did it. You know, this is proof that I'm a Halo champion. And everyone can say what they want, but if you want one of these, come get it. You know where it's at. It's there every other year, and I'll be waiting. And that's what makes it fucking great. You know, that spirit of competition. You know, they're not just handing out trophies. They're not handing out Super Bowl rings. They're not handing out any of that shit. They're not handing out gold medals in the Olympics. You
If
know,
you don't mind me asking,
go ahead.
if you don't mind me asking, the other two players that you guys had with you, what were their feelings? What were their thoughts? Because those guys came in really, they didn't even know both of you. They weren't even connected to anybody at
Well,
all.
I think he had the biggest doubt of me because you know it is true. I do run my mouth. I talk big shit. Like I talk, big shit, right? So like, I wasn't really like talking shit about anybody, but I was kind of. But one thing I love to do is I like to talk myself up. You know, I don't talk really down about somebody else. I just talk up about myself. And sometimes that rubs people the wrong way, right? And so like, I remember one of our teammates. Uh, his name was Yada Guns, not Gambit, but Yada Guns. I guess apparently him and VHS started talking when I went to the bathroom, and he was like telling VHS, he's like, "Yo, like, is this guy really like everything he says he is? Like, I don't know. You know what I'm saying? Like he had his doubts about me, right? Because yeah, like VHS has heard about me, but that guy didn't know me from Adam. Like he's just like, this guy's known me for 10 minutes, and I'm like, yeah, we're gonna win this, and I'm walking around with medals hanging on my neck. Like, who the fuck is this guy? You right? Like, the hell was that? Was this guy smoking? This long-haired guy comes in here talking about we're gonna win this. He doesn't even have a fucking team, and these guys are wearing Space Station and MLG hoodies and coming from Worlds, and this guy by himself with a little string backpack and one controller in his hand is gonna win this event. By like, what the fuck? This guy's tripping, right? And then I guess I don't know if what did you tell him in response? I don't know what you said in response.
I was like, I think I was something like, I mean, I know this guy. It's like I know this guy's gonna be good if he's if he's with Zach and all that. Like he's good on some level. Because I also like I felt like most of the people there, if I'm being honest, were like at that tournament were not a lot of competition outside of one or two teams. I would say two or three teams.
And that's what it's going to be like at most events. You being new to competition, you're going to find that the cream always rises to the top, and most of it is filler. So if you go to like you'll notice like you go look at old MLG events, right? 250 teams, but you're going to notice that the top 8 are always the same top 8, whereas like 200 plus teams were just getting ran through. Online warriors, social this, social that, Oh yeah, we made an MLG team, right? Like, and you just get steamrolled. So you're gonna find that the top 1%, the top 10% are always the same, and everybody else underneath it just kind of fill it.
And I think too, like once you got into the coaching side of things, I think some of those doubts were put aside. Like when I think that was a big one for me. I was like, okay, like this guy can really get this team to function. That was and the team made out of thin air nonetheless. That was huge.
Yeah, I'm not just like, hey guys, no, trust me, I'm really good. I got a really good shot. I'm just gonna run around and not miss all of my shots, okay? I'll just kill everybody and never die. Like, that's delusional thinking, right? Like, I need my control of the game to extend outside of just me, and I need to branch out into you guys. Like, you guys became like my arms and my legs, like Voltron or some shit, right? Like, you guys were an extension of me, right? I was like, if I could be more than one place at one time, I put you guys where I would be if I couldn't just be where I was at. And when that happened, that's when magic happened. You guys just sort of like became an extension of like my thought process, and just said, like I was orchestrating this thing, and you guys just did what I do if I was at those angles. And by doing that, I was able to multiply myself and multiply that knowledge of the game. Extend my arms out,
So what is,
yeah, so if I can jump in for a sec. So so you said the tournament went over for time, and I've been to a few like fighting game events and stuff. I know how that is, right? So what time is it when the game's starting to actually get hard and like people are filtering out? Like it must be like 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock or something like that.
It was
when
like
you guys are going, right?
It was after midnight, and it ran till about 2:30 in the morning. That's when
okay.
I think it was like, I want to say it was like 2 hours, like 2 hour shift. I think it was like, so I remember it was supposed to start at 8:30 or 8, and then it didn't because they couldn't set it up. So we didn't actually get to start playing until like 9:30, and then from there I think it was because I remember getting out of there around like 12:30. I want to recall.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought we got out there like, well, when I checked my clock and when I started texting everybody, it was 2 a.m. So
I think that might have
been.
Actually,
could have been after 1. We'll see.
I have a timestamp right here because.
Okay.
Actually,
I mean, it still was way after what time it was supposed to be over.
Yeah.
With.
Oh yeah.
Right.
Which was kind of a funny experience because like we start the event and there's like a group of like 100 or 200 people watching, and by the end of it, it's us and the staff. Like
that's it. Yeah. No, and they're probably like looking at you so they can go to sleep, right?
Yeah.
That's how it is. Yeah.
I texted my brother, and it was. I don't know if you can't see it, but it was 2:48 in the morning.
Okay.
Yeah. And this is, remember that picture I took of my 3 chains like this? I don't know if you remember. We were just walking out of the event, and it was just me and you, because me, you, and Gambit kind of split. Gunner already, like Yada guys already took off. But when we were walking towards the pizza place and we were crossing the street, I took a picture of my necklace like this, and I sent it to my brother. That was 2:48 a.m. So it was pretty late. But I mean, let's say we bullshitted for 50 minutes, which I doubt, but like it probably ended like 2. I don't know. I don't know how that worked.
Yeah. So that's awesome. So
Yeah.
you went all night with Goatman to get your little PAX pin.
I'll tell
How do
you
you
this.
like?
I hadn't had dinner
I'll tell you
last
this.
night.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. Yeah, we were like, he was hungry. We went. Me and him celebrated. He bought me pizza. I bought him a drink. You know. There's some other shit happened, but I'm not gonna say. It's just weird shit. But no, I'll save it for another podcast. But um, all that aside, where was I going with this? Oh yeah, when we walked into the event, there was like thousands of people. When we walked out, it was the last 2 teams for Halo.
Yeah.
Nobody else. Nobody else. The place was empty. It was just referees, the guy running the event. So there was like 10 or 12 referees there, the guy running the event, and the final 4 and 4, the final 8 players.
It sounds like that tournament was like the most popular. Would you say it was like one of the most popular tournaments there then?
I
I'm
think
sure
so.
H3 was
I
big,
would
right?
say
H3 was
so.
big.
I would say it was probably second to like Smash. I think Smash was probably.
Well, that makes a lot of
Okay,
sense. That makes
Yeah,
a lot of
it was about 50. Yeah, it wasn't like one was like a landslide over another. There was a shit ton of people there. It was hard to say because there was like a couple hundred people in line for Smash and Halo at the same time.
Oh
So
yeah,
it
yeah,
was
that's right.
so like they were like side by side waiting to start.
Right.
So like it was hard to say who was there for what, you know. And then also the seating was very close to each other, so it was also very hard to say. And they were like announcing it from like the same intercom.
Well,
So
that
Okay.
has to be exciting, right? Because that if people are coming up to these events and they're really popular, then that just gives PAX and the employees that run these console tournaments at PAX more motivation to do more. So it'd be
you
cool to
mean
see more of these in the future. More
it,
consistently.
and apparently there's been more. I mean, dude, I've been going to these things every time they throw one. I will say officially there was one I missed. I had no idea that it happened in 2019. So if I would have known, I would have went. But
Sure.
2016 they threw it. I won it. 2018 I threw another one. I won it. 2019 they threw one. I didn't know what happened. Then COVID hit. 2020, and then I don't think they had another PAX until like 2022.
And I
I
didn't
don't
know
know.
this either, but they do Halo 3 as well. So that would also
Yeah,
be really
Yeah, they had a
interesting.
big H3 stage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, they had a
So
big H3 stage. Yeah,
yeah,
but they didn't have another one until this year, 2024, and that's when I won this one with my boy here.
yeah. So cool. So we've now covered the story from Goatman is showing up with nothing but like a good attitude. He's got his chains from the previous victories and stuff. No real team, and he's
Yeah.
getting to winning the event with like a cool ragtag group of guys. LD50 is sending his boy. I like that kind of like divine intervention thing. Like we have people
Yeah.
all over the place.
I love how LD
Um,
I felt like he was setting me a fucking
yeah.
like an assassin, you know what I'm
Oop.
saying? I think he had to go. I don't know.
Yeah. No, he was like starting to lose connection. We'll see if we can get him back. I was just gonna ask
Yeah.
for like closing thoughts or whatever because we were gonna end up losing him anyway due to time.
Yeah.
But yeah, if you have any like sort of final thoughts on this, maybe let's just talk for 4 or 5 minutes or whatever. See if he rejoins, and then let's talk about the Liquipedia thing.
Okay.
Oh,
That
I
sound good?
actually have something to say here. We never talked about this at the end of the event, right? These two guys, what were their thoughts? Like, did they say anything after you guys got the medals handed to you? Were they excited?
like- They were definitely happy. They were in disbelief. They were just like, I can't fucking believe we just did that. And I was like, guys, I told you. And they're like, yeah, I know you told us, but like, we didn't think you were like serious, you know? And I was
Yeah.
like, I'm serious. I was like, if I say something, I'm fucking serious. And a lot of people talk a lot, but not a lot of people actually like do the shit they're gonna say. And it's very uncommon to run across somebody who like says something and backs it up. So, I give all the credit to the fact that all of us were able to come together for that one afternoon, and even though we were complete strangers, we were able to like basically hear each other out, listen, communicate. And it shows that teamwork can literally trump skill at that point because there's guys
Oh, yeah.
that were like, there was guys there that were like, I was watching their movement, I was watching their shots. Everyone's like over twitching. They're like sweep sniping. They're they're double shotting. They're doing all the meta that we all know is like the sweat movement and everything. And my guys were like, they didn't know how to double shot. They didn't know how to BXR. But I kept them far enough away from the enemy. I was like, I want you guys to set up an outer perimeter that they never got close enough to really, really dig in on them, And I kind of like protected them, Every time one of them got pushed, I was there to like, I was the one pressing out, to help keep them alive. But,
awesome. We got them back. Yeah. Yeah, I think we've I don't want to keep you any longer than we have to, man. So is there any like closing thoughts or anything from anybody about the event?
It was a good feeling. Like, also, like, I think still learning new things about Halo. That's one thing I love about H2. Like, I've been playing Halo for 17, 18 years now, and I'm still finding like new ways to play.
Yeah.
I remember like the spawn trapping. I didn't really know about that. Like, at least I didn't know you could control it to that degree. I knew how to flip spawns, but I didn't know you could like really pin somebody in a particular area. So that was really interesting to learn.
Yeah,
that's awesome, man. Hopefully you get to more events too. Like, if Goat's saying that you were good, man, and it's like kind of your first time doing MCC, your first time not playing like a LAN with your immediate friends, like really trying to win to get the medal. Like, I'm just saying, there's lots of tournaments and stuff in Seattle. I'm sure that you'll get a couple more chains soon, get a couple more medals.
Yeah, you never know.
Yeah.
I'm looking to go to the one in Vegas, I think, later this year. I'm looking at that one. So
yeah,
is LD50 going to that one?
Government's saying the competition there is tough, so we'll see.
That one's gonna be hard, man.
Some of the best teams of all time will be there. Absolutely.
That's gonna be a great event, though. Like, regardless of what happens, that event's gonna be sick. Like, it's a good prize pool. It's on the original Xboxes. Like, there's only good people there.
I mean, what they're doing to celebrate Halo 2, I mean, that's very cool that they're doing that. I mean, and to the extent that they're doing that is really cool to see.
Yeah, so there's lots of stuff coming up, especially on the West Coast. So hopefully we can get more like actually organized Zodiac teams. But we thank you so much for your contribution, VHS. We wouldn't have it without you. I'm super appreciative. I couldn't believe it when I saw Goatman being like, "I'm going to the event with no team." I was like, "Okay, guaranteed loss." A couple hours later, I like look at my computer and he's got all the chains. There's like the picture of you guys, and everyone looks bewildered except for him. And I'm sure I've showed it already in the edit or whatever. That is super cool though.
And I just want to say thank you. I just want to say thank you as well. I was actually in the middle of traveling back to the United States when I received the message and Goat posting the medals. My jaw dropped because this was like all last minute put together. So the fact that you guys pulled that off, that's super sick, dude. I think that's super cool that you played your part and actually helped get the win.
I told you. I was like, there's a lot of people in the Discord that are going to be really thankful for what you did, man.
So do you have any shout outs or whatever? You said that you work at one of like the media preservation museums. Can you talk a little bit about that or something?
Yeah, I do some volunteer work at the Museum of Art and Digital Entertainment in Oakland, which is basically an all-playable video game museum. It's in downtown Oakland, California. So if you're visiting in the San Francisco Bay Area, it's a 10-minute BART ride from downtown San Francisco. So I highly recommend visiting it. You can basically play games for all day if you want to. So
that's awesome.
That's my shout out.
Awesome.
And I'll give a shout out to LD50 too for helping me find an awesome teammate.
That's great, man. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Have a good one.
Yeah, you
later.
Bro. See you later, bro. Yeah, so excuse me. I was just thinking here. I was just thinking a couple seconds ago, while I was overseas, I was literally sitting at a mango tree with like almost no connection. Yeah, trying to like get stuff organized for Cold Zodiac. But yeah, I'd like to talk about the whole Liquipedia thing here, then, if that's okay.
I feel like we covered the tournament, so.
Yeah, we covered the tournament. I just wanted to make sure that we got, covering the tournament while we still had VHS here. You know what I mean?
Right. Oh, of
so
course.
we can talk about like the minutia of the Liquipedia thing going on. That's like Rep's wheelhouse, so you can take the lead for this one.
Yeah. So it all started really. I just I've been so frustrated that Goat's been participating in a lot of these events and hasn't gotten the credit for it. And I know that Liquipedia, when it comes to Halo, for a lot of these smaller like LAN events, these smaller tournaments, the information is not really publicly posted that well. And from a wiki standpoint, I think you would think they would appreciate having more like pages dedicated to Halo in terms of land preservation and all the stuff that they did. And I just got really tired of hearing people not giving Goat the credit for a lot of these events that he participated in. And I know it really isn't about that at the end of the day. He has his medals and he really doesn't have to prove anything to anybody. But I think from like a preservation, historical context, I really wanted to kind of get those events posted publicly online. So yeah, I got really frustrated when Goat was receiving messages about like no one giving him credit for these events. That I was like, you know what? I'm gonna go straight to Liquipedia as I've done before and help provide them information. Um, and they actually, well, originally were giving us a hard time, right? I mean, we didn't really have any information because the two events that Goat participated in were like 10 years ago. So they're like, okay, we need all this information. We need brackets. We need team names. We need rosters. We need the rules, how it was broken down. And me and Goat were like, oh, man, how are we gonna get this info? And I just had this like Jimmy Neutron moment where I was like, oh, brain blast. I was like, wait, we can use the Wayback Machine. And Goat's like, yeah, that's actually a genius idea. I've never heard of that. So I'm sitting at the mango tree because I didn't have internet at the time, and I'm there trying to get a cell connection, and it's cutting in and out. And so I'm sitting there on the top of a hill in the middle of a jungle, looking up information with Goat on the Wayback Machine. And Goat did a phenomenal. The fact that he found the information that fast was mind blowing. But we managed to actually get the screenshots of the PAX website of showing the tournaments and when they were hosted. So we got all that information. So Goat's like, all right, let's see what else I can do here. And Goat can talk a little bit more about that. But he ended up finding all this information and pulling the rabbit out of the magic hat.
Basically, Rep gave me the means by giving me the. He sent me the address where I had the means of like looking back like expired websites, stuff that should like websites that get refreshed all the time, and going back to like a snapshot in specific months and days and time, where you could go back. Where it's like people think that like, oh, I deleted it from the internet, it's gone. Like no, and this goes to everybody. Whatever you do on the internet, it's there forever. So watch what you do on the internet, because if you say something, if you do something, it's there forever. Even if you delete it, it's there. And I was able to go back in time, and I found all of the itineraries for all the Halo 2 events, proof that they were posted, the itineraries where it happened, the dates, the times, the locations, everything. Then I was able to pull like other people that were either watched the stream or that were at the location or had secondary cameras or had anybody that happened to be in the room at the time, and got like third-party camera views and different proof from different angles. And then I went back in an old cloud of mine that I don't use anymore, and I was able to find an old account that I no longer have that had. It just so happened that when I played for Triggers Down, that I had recorded a 5-minute long video of them going, "All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and say the brackets," and they said every single person's there's first and last name, and every single team that was on there, including me, SK Halo God, my brother, and Madrox, who played it. And they said, and you guys were going to be going as Triggers Down. And I have it all on video by the actual official in HD. And I sent it to Rep. I've got, even this event, I've got literally the guy, like the main commissioner who runs the PAX tournaments, on video going, "Hey, I'm so-and-so. This is my first and last name. Here's my badge. Goat Minjaro and his team won this year, and this year's tournaments. If you have any other further questions, you can email me directly at my email." Wow, like, and then it expands down and it shows the bracket of me like going all the way to first place right in front of him.
Before we talk about this,
Yeah.
I just want to say that Liquipedia, they just got voted like the #1 esports wiki this year. They actually got an award for that. So they're very picky with what data that they put up on their wiki, and information has to be very credible. Originally, when I sent the PAX information, a lot of the information that Goat sent, um, they finally were like, okay, you have enough information here. We know that these were legit. We know these take place. One of the admins that runs the website, he's like, okay, I tell you what, I'm gonna make the page for the PAX 2016 event, and I'm gonna tie it with another page for the PAX 2018 event. And he says we're gonna put it on a part of the website basically where you can access it, but it's not on the main pages. It's like a placeholder on the website until we got more information. Because how Liquipedia works, they actually have a credibility voting system where they really need credible evidence that something happened before they put it up. Because obviously it's a wiki, right? Historical context is important. It matters.
Yeah.
And I once they put that up, there's the fact that they had this PAX event. It was a miracle, kind of how everything played out, how everything fell into place over the course of the past, like really week and a half.
Yeah.
So finally, the fact that you went to this PAX event and you have the guy that runs the tournament confirming that you won with his badge, with the shirt, with his email. Once Liquipedia actually gets to that, I think that we have plenty of evidence to actually get these pages up. As for 2016, 2018, there's going to be missing information. But what they told me is as long as there is credible evidence and they have at least enough of a basic outline for a web page, they can put the web page up for historical context. So I think the 2016, 2018 is not going to be a problem. And the 2024, obviously, you have all the information on that.
Yeah, I got the guy who runs the whole thing on video, like saying, "Hey, it happened, bro."
Right.
Yeah, and we have photos of the top 16 on their challenge that they were running the tournament
everything.
off of. Yeah.
They're gonna get to it.
Yeah, for sure. So I was just gonna mention for maybe people who aren't super familiar with it, if you notice the name Liquid. Liquipedia is an archival preservation type website, type wiki, similar to like Wiki Fandom or something like that. It's run by Team Liquid, who you might recognize from like Dota or CS or Quake, where they recently had like Rafa winning all those tournaments for them. And basically the way that their wiki works is that they have web pages for each event that users are able to edit, similar to what you'd have on a wiki, like a Wikipedia, Wikimedia kind of foundation website. And the reason why this is important for us, as I recently found out, and I think it was Rep who told me this, the more events that you win of different tiers, the more points that you get towards your organization becoming a notable org to have its own webpage. So if we're able to get enough points, enough credibility to get ourselves an actual web page for called Zodiac, then we can start adding players who have played for us historically, right? Getting them their own pages on Liquipedia where we can put some biographical information, tournaments that they've won, and then start preserving the history of our org and our players that way.
Yeah.
So that's why this all matters. We're not just doing it as sort of like an ego stroking thing.
And not only that,
this is to build the foundation of players to come after us and everyone around us to get notoriety for what they did as a player.
And also too, what's really cool is the more notability you get, the more credibility you get, the more players that you can actually get involved. It's kind of how the old MLG teams kind of started. You start from the bottom up. As you get more notability, obviously it makes sense over a course of time that you get more talent to join the team, more talent to join the org, and you can expand for more and more tournaments, which is kind of what we're in the process of doing right now. We're trying to expand Cole Zodiac a bit for other Halo titles, because most of us obviously right now in this Discord are really focused on Halo 2. We're kind of spread thin to where we can't do Halo 2 and Halo 3. So it'd be really cool to see our org continue to grow. What's really cool, what's insane is once the 2016 and the 2024 event gets added, including with the Worlds event that we will have enough notability points to actually get our own wiki page, which is very exciting. because that only means from here it's only up from here.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we can put information about our org. We can show the different roster lineups that we've had. Like, I'm very into the whole note-taking preservation type aspect of esports. I think it's super cool. So, we'd be on this wiki where you can see, like, oh, here's who played at these, like, MLG events a long time ago, because they've been backed up and archived now. And there's, like, this continuous form of, like, every major and even minor tournaments, even, like, side events and stuff. And then, we'd have our own thing. You see the little Zodiac circle with the cross in it or something next to certain people who played with us on different rosters, pages of like notable players and where they went after or who they were playing for before, stuff like that. And I think that'll be really cool and could attract more people to the classic Halo events and stuff. And I think we have some plans. I'm not sure we'll talk about them on this podcast, probably not, but I think it would be super cool to at least have made our mark enough on these H2 events that we get recognition for that, and that'd be really cool.
And who's to say where it extends from there? I mean, this is the beginning. There's going to be other FPSs in the future. There's going to be other opportunities in the future. I already just got a sponsorship deal too while I was at PAX with this company right here. They do like a sort of like an extended. I threw some other stuff on my stuff right here. They do like an extended. It's kind of like a control freak, giving them a shot. But they told me, they're like, they saw my performance and they told me, they're like, hey, you're sick and we want sick players to use our stuff. And so they want to do some sort of marketing deal with us, and we could talk numbers off camera, but
yeah, of course. Yeah.
That's very exciting.
It's
that's
definitely
new information to me. That's new information to me
I'll tell you, it's definitely going to be very lucrative. I'll put it that way. Yeah. So.
But so just things like that, we can have I have no illusions that suddenly Cult Zodiac will become Optic Gaming or something. But what I think that we would be able to do if we're able to get more deals like that is put up a few $100 for a player to show up to an event. Make sure people got like nice jerseys. They have accommodations to be at these sorts of tournaments and stuff. And like we said, expand into more Halo games. I think that this is really good too. I think that we're trying to refocus more on the Halo games, try to sort of take over that space a little bit as sort of an up and coming org. So if you play any version of Halo, and you watch this podcast historically or something like that, just because you're peripherally interested in the classic Halos, say that you're like a Halo 5 player, Halo 4 player, Infinite, something like that, excited for the new Halo, there's got to be a new one before too long, right? Infinite doesn't have too long left, I'll say, regardless of how much money they keep pumping into these majors. Definitely join, and we'll talk about maybe getting you to an event, because I'm excited to see us get more points and more recognition.
Oh yeah. You got anything you want to add, Rick?
I was just testing my mic. I had to mute my mic for a second. One thing that I'll mention here is the fact that that we're kind of taking up a space that not many people are focused on right now, right? We're building a team and we're building an org and we're focusing on these LAN events. And what's crazy to me is there's such a competitive player base out there, but all these LAN events, all these HCS events, these PAX events, they get so overlooked that people don't even know that they're happening. And we're out here, trying to give players and people that are good at the game that might not get the recognition that they deserve, that actually have the talent, that want to make something of their talent. They want to preserve their place in Halo history. We're giving them the opportunity to potentially go out there and do that. I mean, LD50, for example, participating in all his local LANs and actually giving him a platform to where he could compete, at HCS, which he did. It's super cool. And this new guy, VHS, the fact that
the networking is real.
Yeah.
I mean, just thinking about it, like, if it wasn't for LD50's networking, I probably would have not won the event because I would have had some shitter instead of VHS. And I would have had some shitter watching my back on BR3, and he would have got killed. We all know that. We would have lost control, and that would have been it. So it's already proof in the pudding is showing that us networking and extending our network, even to the extent of like California now, we're covering the whole West Coast. we were able to get a player from nobody that I primarily picked, but we were able to get somebody who was at a LAN center from NorCal to fly up and team up with me and win an event. I mean, that goes to show you there is power in this networking thing.
And it's crazy, right? Just thinking of where we were 2 years ago, and the whole idea of this Discord and team, and what we are as an org to kind of where we are now, and I really like the idea that we focused primarily on underground talent because, as you've said before, Goat, we're in a position where a lot of the talent that is in Halo are very secluded within their own interpersonal groups. It's very like tribal in terms of like how people interact with each other on Halo. So to
Well,
be a platform,
I always call
yeah,
it like the cool kids lunch table. Like you can't
yeah,
sit with us. Like, our if you sit with us, you got to sit with us on our terms. And I've always been like, no, 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 no. We're not. I'm not walking into your casino. You're gonna walk into mine. And I've gotten a lot of flack in the community because I won't walk into their casino. And I just there's a lot of people who get baited and like kind of like sugar coated, like, oh no, it'll be fun. We're gonna have GGs. It's gonna be all good. And it's like, nah, bro, I'm too smart for that shit. Like, I know what this is gonna be.
right.
You're walking into a community that's gonna have you're gonna be playing on their servers. You're gonna be playing against their guys who have played forever. It's set up in such a way not for it to be a fair game. And so that's why there's been a whole tug of war with me and a lot of the community over a lot of the years. It's because it's like, hey man, I always say you play your game and I'll play mine. Like I don't knock your game, but don't knock mine. You know what I'm saying? But we're over here doing our own thing. And if you want to compete, I'll show up to an event. I'm not
I
going to show up
just
to somebody's private server. Like, go ahead.
yeah, and I think it's great being a team, right? An org, right? That scouts talent and sees a lot of these players that want to be something that are always just kind of shunned from the community as a whole. They're not allowed to participate, or if they do
If you're
participate,
not in the clique, yeah, if you're not in
yeah,
their clique, then you
yeah.
don't have access to talent. And you
I
should have access to talent. You should have access to competing, even if you're not part of like one or two communities.
and I think it opens up the eyes of a lot of players, right? Like I think like you tell people that there are events out there and there is, opportunities for people to be something in life and to have successful stories. I think it's motivation for a lot of people that especially for Halo as a whole, right? I mean, a lot of players that are playing this game lately don't have the motivation to play it. They feel like there's not a lot going on, and to show people that there is a lot of cool things happening across, the East Coast, Central, West Coast for a lot of these LAN events, and to see that LAN as a whole still exists, I think is really cool.
Well, I mean, life is what you make it, and I think we were just talking about it earlier today when we were running a few games. But like, you're telling me about guys who are like, oh yeah, competition, MLG, competition. But then when you like a lot of these guys too, you ask them like, hey man, you gonna show up to this event? People are like, oh,
It's too
it's just
hard.
I gotta
And
paint my house. I
yeah,
gotta
not
cut
only
my
that,
grass. Like,
but
like.
but I think a lot of people have also the wrong mentality, right? Like a lot of people that are playing Halo only care about the money. They only see
Yeah,
competitive.
how much money is it going to be? Or, I was telling earlier, your buddy was like, we were talking about the guy in England, and he was like, oh, well, the guys there are going to be too good, or the guys there are not going to be good enough, and it's like, well, what is it going to be? Is it they're too good? They're not good enough? There's too many people? There's not enough people? You know, the temperature outside, is it too humid? Like, you can find any reason or any excuse why you're not going to compete, or you can just show up even if odds are against you, even if you have no idea what to expect, and you can just compete for the sake of competing like I did.
And that's
I didn't even have a fucking team, and I made it work.
and that
Is it? Go ahead.
Oh, you can finish. That's fine.
No, go ahead. Go
Okay.
ahead.
I was just thinking, and that's the difference between somebody that sees the bigger picture and somebody that has their mind closed in a box, right? I think Cult Zodiac as an org, we see the bigger picture of these LAN events and the importance of these events and the opportunities that can come from these events outside of just financial, gain. I mean, for me as somebody that's been playing Halo my whole life, I've always dreamed of being able to compete and actually put myself out there. That way, in the future, if I ever have kids one day, I can look back and be proud of the moment in history that I got to participate in. Like it's not just about the money, you know, it's about the title, it's about, you
No,
know,
it's
the
the people's
fellowship with your
pride,
friends.
bro.
The pride,
People,
yeah.
people like, and this is also where it comes to a little bit earlier when I was talking about like playing on people's servers or people seeing things. Like a lot of people in this comp scene are like, they're like, they only want to play if they got the most stacked team. They only want to play if they got hosts. They only want to play if like if things look like they can't go any other way but in their favor. And like my argument to that is like, bro, like I would show up to MLG events and AGP events back in the day, you know, back in 05, 06, you know what I'm saying? And I would put teams together like this because like there was always a guy or two. Like I never got a god team. I never got to play at that level because like people wanted the super stack team, and like I never got that super stack team. So I would just put whatever team together, and I would have placed a lot higher if I would have just had a better stack team. But I still went for the sake of competing, even though I knew I was walking into a death trap. You know, because at least I could say I went while you were like at home, like, and you never went. I can at least be like, hey man, I placed top 32. What did you do? You didn't even go. You know what I'm saying? Like I didn't know what I was going to win this event a week ago. I just went because I compete. And if you compete, that's what you do. You just don't do things when things are in your favor, or it's the perfect team, or it's the perfect server, or it's the perfect lineup. You know, you play to play. You
There's
know,
something else that's really important to mention too, right? The LAN scene as a whole, the importance of LAN, local area network, you know, they're networking, not just playing the game, but networking with friends, you know, creating memories, making connections. I think the social aspect of Halo back in the day is kind of gone, and the fact that we still have a LAN scene that people are kind of unaware of, I just see how it connects people and how, like,
it's
I mean, the
different
fact that
experience.
it's about the experience, right? I mean, like the fact that I got to fly out to Seattle, got
Yeah.
to
How
experience
many
something like that.
times? Yeah. How many times have you played Halo with me online, rep, versus when you came out here and playing, and then like looking over your right shoulder, looking over your left shoulder, and seeing your team, and seeing the opposite team 3 feet in front of you on their TV. It's like I don't know,
The
man.
experience is so different. It's euphoric.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah,
the
it's like the difference
energy.
between jerking off and fucking. It's like, yeah, you're busting it up, but it's completely fucking
Right.
different, man. You know, like it's completely different. You
Right.
know, like
Right.
oh, we're fucking now. We're fucking like there ain't no like oh, I'm gonna shut off my box or walk away. No, you're accountable. You're right here in front of me. It's hot. It's heavy. We're talking shit. You can feel that little bit of spit hitting you in the face across the fucking screen. Like it's palpable, and you just don't get that online. You just don't. And face it, there's nothing like it, man. There's nothing like it. I love your little fucking laughing Mexican emoji. It's
Yeah,
awesome.
I know you noticed that. It's funny.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah,
I kind
that's
of.
something that I think a lot of people maybe miss is that you know, people should play, I guess, just like for the love of it. Halo is not the most gigantic scene, especially for like the classic Halos or whatever. So what we want to focus on is like, you know, getting people to events so that they can play and enjoy, right? Like putting squads together to an event so that like people can have that experience. I don't think anyone's gonna get like phenomenally wealthy winning $600 tournaments or something
No,
for like the
no, no.
classic Halo games.
We're not here
But
for money. We all know that.
yeah, you know, there's I know that there's still money in Infinite and all that, but there's sort of like a franchise league and stuff. But no, it's trying to get to these smaller events just to have the fun of competing on LAN, like we used to.
Yeah. Remember when it was before XP and skins and cat ears and whatever the fuck else people put on their Spartan now? Like back when the award was you got to play the game. Like
Yeah,
whatever happened to that? Whatever happened to like the award being you got better at the game and you got good and your gameplay was the award, not just like oh I need to be rewarded for playing this game now. I need XP. I need this and that. I need to make oh there's not enough prize pool money. I don't want to go. What do you mean, man? What are you talking about? If this is like if this is about money for you, then don't even play Halo. Like go to college and get like a really high end degree to go work some crazy high paying job. Like, what are you even doing here? None of this is about money. And like, leave your ego at the door if you think it is, because there's only a handful of people that have been making life changing paychecks, and it's not you. You know, like you haven't been making these life changing paychecks, because I know who you are, and I know the people who get those, and it's like a handful. It's like Tox, Ace, and like a handful of other people. You know, like
and the thing
yeah.
is, like modern gaming, the people just aren't meeting people like they used to. People aren't traveling like they used to. I mean, to have an opportunity out there to where you can go to events and interact with a lot of people and socialize and make friendships, like lifelong friendships, and to actually compete for something bigger than just an online match where you actually get to experience something in the real world, in the physical world. uh, It's super cool. Like Goat said, there's nothing like it. When I went to this event, it was unlike anything I've ever experienced. I mean, just being there, it's a very very euphoric feeling. Being in and having a crowd, the energy, just knowing that the title is on the line, because ultimately that's what you're fighting for, the title. You're there not for the money. Like, I mean, it's like the Olympics, right?
And yeah,
You know?
another thing too is a lot of people they try to downplay, like, oh, you're just that little event. I'm like, bro, we're playing against neighbor. You know, the guy that was on Final Boss. You know that guy, the
It's
guy,
funny you say that. They
the
just
guy that you know, like the guy that was on Instinct, like
Straight Rippin just played at the Texas or the Arlington event. Straight Rippin was there. Ace, they won. So I mean, there's big teams there. There's some big
yeah.
names that show up to these
So
events.
straight ripping is like, do you want to play against straight ripping for money, or is that not good enough for you? Like, just don't flatter yourself, man. Like, Jesus Christ, you can play against straight ripping, an OG Halo for money. What do people want? You want me to roll out the red carpet? Like, what the fuck?
Some of the
You
best
know?
things that come from this world, bro, from
I
what
was
I'm
hanging
learning.
out with last time I was hanging out with Walshy. I was like, and then me and fucking Heinz. Me and Heinz
Yep.
were just sitting there shooting the shit. Me and Heinz were just talking for like 15 minutes about nothing. You know?
I mean,
And then Steve Downs, Master Chief, saw my dick.
yeah, that was a true story. I remember that. I walked out of the bathroom and be like, bro, that just happened. I was like, what? uh,
It's a
but
true story.
uh,
I was taking
but
a piss and I stepped on his shoe and I almost pissed on him. I took a
Goat, man.
step back and he like was walking up and I was walking backwards. It's a long story, man. Don't worry about it.
It's hilarious though. I remember
Yeah.
you telling us.
And then we shook we did a manly handshake on the way out.
It was like no problem. Oh, that's funny. I forgot. Now it made me lose my train of thought. That story, bro. Oh my. That's what I was gonna say. Something along the lines of like, when it comes to like LAN tournaments, like the friendships, man, and just like to me that's probably the coolest thing about it. Like just like our group, having all these friends and people that you get to actually meet in real life, like outside of just turning on your Xbox, playing a couple matches, turning it off. You know, beyond the event, it's lifelong experiences that you'll always have, you'll always remember. And I think just the fact that we're focusing even on Liquipedia, it's a historically document these experiences, and we can always look back on these. We won't having a space like Liquipedia where you don't forget it, and you can show people around you that it's about showcasing your accomplishments and being proud of who you are and being proud of you know doing things in the real world.
I mean, I can't speak on behalf of everybody, but I know speaking on behalf of myself, I just kind of wanted something to be written somewhere, like in like Halo 2. If you go up to like Beaver Creek, there's that one thing from Red versus Blue where it says Bid was here. Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
I wanted my own version of Goatman was here. That's it. I don't need to be like, oh, Goat was the best player to ever play Halo 2, or Goatman, whatever, is got the biggest dick in town. Like, I don't need it, like any of that shit. Like, all I wanted was there was a guy named Goatman. He played the game. He did a damn good job, and he was here. And I feel like by doing stuff like getting on the Wikipedia, getting my, these aren't MLG championships. They're obviously going to be smaller events, but they're still events nonetheless, and they're still, they're smaller, but they're not like local LANs at your GameStop. You know, it's not
We
that
can't
small.
discredit these. We can't discredit these because there are major teams that still
Yeah,
participate in small
yeah,
events. I
and
mean,
there
they
there
are a
are
big
major
deal.
teams that participate. There are known players that win. There are people who competed, and there was competition there. You know, but for some reason, if I win the event, it's like beyond people's comprehension. I'm like, dude, I'm the same guy who's like smoking kids all day online. Like, so like I don't know. People just don't want to give you credit. But at the end of the day, that's all I wanted was credit. That's it. I don't care about money. I don't care about notoriety. Like, I just wanted like them to be like, yeah, he was here. These were the events he played. These are the placements he's got. He did the damn thing. He's out. Peace. Here's a montage to watch.
We're definitely getting the credit. I mean,
You know,
I mean, which is great.
like,
There's a lot of people in this game that deserve it. I think I truly feel that there's a lot of people that deserve, being recognized for putting the time in and getting good at something. And that goes for anything in life. Getting good at anything in life. I think anybody that invests time in something to be stellar at something, they deserve recognition. That's kind of what life is about, learning things.
But you have jealousy, you have envy, you've got hate, you've got a lot of these other things that other people in the community. I'm not going to name no names, but there's people in the community that will go out of their way to try to remove you from social platforms, to try to remove you from websites, to try to remove any notoriety, to try to remove you from anything that you ever existed, to try to erase you from the history books. There's people out there that will spend more time and energy trying to do that than trying to make a name for themselves. And I run across that personally, and I know Rep has too all the time.
Yep.
There's people that will go out of their way to make sure that you don't get a spot because they never got a spot. So there's a lot of that going on too. You have to look, like the saying goes, if you don't got haters, you're not doing it right. So
I think the other thing too that people always say about like the events, they're like, oh, it's a small event. These are the events that we have for Halo 2. Like there's not, it's
nothing
not
bigger.
like the MLG Pro Circuit's still running, right? So if you show up to some sort of a regional event, if they actually were doing OG Xbox tournament, 8 teams at that museum that VHS works at, you know what I mean? That's the event that you have. If that's the one you can get to, just go to it. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then if people like think that they're better and that they didn't want to show up because people aren't good enough, then maybe they show up and beat you next time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Now it gets more competitive.
And then it gets more and more and more competitive. Like people are like, yo, come to Seattle. We got a medal waiting for you. You just got to take it from my hand. That's all. Show up. Show up like I do. And that's how competition
and then it
grows.
becomes like a yearly event for the guys on the West Coast. Yeah.
Exactly. And next thing you know, it goes from being every other year to being a bigger and bigger and bigger event. And then who knows where it goes from there? People are like, oh shit. I mean, look, the Smash community is still alive and running. They still have fucking hella people who show up to all their events all the time. Why can't we just keep having events for Halo 2? If I keep winning these things, eventually someone's going to want to dethrone me. I guarantee you next year, if they throw another event, everyone who lost is going to try to come up with a more stacked team to try to beat me next year. And the legend grows. And if I lose, so be it. But I'm still going to show up and play. Who cares? Right. I already won 3 of them. Who gives a shit if I lose one? I got 3 wins. I'll win another one after that. And we can keep this going forever. And that's
then we show up with a more stacked team, right?
Then we show up with more stacked team the next day. Yeah.
An actual team. And next time.
It just gets better and better and better, It gets crazier and crazier. And then people also draws bigger crowds because people are like, oh, fuck. The competition is so crazy. Put this shit on the Jumbotron. Put this on the main, on the main thing. Or let's start fucking throwing this on Twitch. Let's start videoing this because this is actually pulling people in. I mean, they made a bracket and it went double over the bracket.
Right.
There was double the teams that were going to show up for Halo. So obviously there's some sort of want to play this game. There's some sort of following. So make it bigger, make it better.
Yeah. It's not just H2 as well. Like obviously, like Rep said earlier, it's H2 focused. Most of the players here play Halo 2. But there was a big Halo 3 event at that tournament that you were talking about, right? There was a main stage almost for like Halo 3.
They did. They had a main stage.
I'll throw the footage in the edit while we're talking about this. But like they had a stage. They had it was done by the time that you took the video of it, right? But they had seats set up. They had a big screen.
Yeah, they were pulling everything down. It was already pulled down, and they were setting up. Like they had somebody talking on like stage, talking about the next setup. But that was the main stage. That room that you see in the photo, that was the Halo 3 main stage. And there was another photo I sent to you that showed some events that were lined up on a big poster that were like bigger than me. And one of them was Halo 3, oh 07 settings, da 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 da, in this theater, which was that room that I showed you. So it's not like it was some like podunk, like LAN in the corner, like nobody's there. Like it was main stage shit, and people are sleeping if they're not on these events. It's not like I've been talking about it for fucking 8 years on goddamn
Too many
SEC.
people. Too many people are
You know?
too many people are comfortable in their rooms
Yeah,
playing the same 25 people and trading games with the same 25 people on these
yeah,
online tournaments that really don't mean anything. I think the like just having having this LAN scene as a whole is very important. Anybody can set up an online tournament and throw money into a PayPal. It's another thing to get on an airplane, travel, and make friends and
yeah.
actually compete towards something that represents an older era of time.
Well, yeah. Some of those online tournaments have like amazing games in them and stuff, but the sort of like fulfilling experience of going and meeting people and stuff like that, maybe you don't get as much out of.
No.
So like I don't want to talk shit. Like, there's
Yeah.
been really good online tournaments with like classic players, newer players, all kinds of shit.
But it's
$100
always,
tournaments, thousands of dollar tournaments.
Right.
But it's not the same to
The
play in one of
experience,
those to actually like go to the event and eat pizza after or whatever, right?
go. I'll just tell the audience, go watch an online tournament, and then go watch like a 2007 MLG event, and watch them screaming and like ripping out their jerseys and fucking, yelling across the TV. It's just, and the screaming and like the call outs and the Astro listening. Go watch that stuff. It's night and day.
Yeah, if you want a fair head-to-head too, there was a $150,000 Halo 2 tournament, MCC, but Halo 2 tournament that was done in 2021, I want to say. 150K. It was all like the classic players that you know from MLG.
Oh,
Compare that to compare that to just look up Halo 2 150K. What happened is it was going to be 50,000 for like a Twitch Rivals tournament, and then I think Ninja donated a bunch of money, and somehow the prize pool got to 150K. But so there was that tournament, and you can compare that to when Final Boss lifted their $100,000 check, right? Like the difference in the excitement and the viewing experience is massive. Even though there was great games in that 150K tournament that they did, it was just an online cup. They had Chris Puckett there doing the commentary, like very similar event, but the LAN was way more exciting to watch.
The LAN plays more like an actual sport. Like in the viewer experience is as almost as if you're watching an actual like football, game going on. The experience is more engaging, definitely in LAN events than online for sure.
Yeah, it's like the difference of watching like remember during COVID when they were having those digital concerts. You remember those?
Yes.
Like people couldn't go to concerts, so they're doing like at home, like you pay and then you basically have like it's like watching a TV show, but it's like a concert. Mm-hmm. It's like that versus have you ever been inside of a pit before at a metal show or like you got people like running into you and you feel elbows in your ribs and you're holding onto the gate and your favorite artist is like playing a solo or they're singing or they're doing rap, whatever they're doing, and they're right in front of you. And the speakers are bigger than your body and you can feel the bass going right through your chest. It's a completely different feeling. And until you experience that,
some of the like I said though, with the analogy between those two tournaments, like there's some really amazing online sets that were done during COVID, right? Like the one on that oil rig that Pendulum did or whatever. It's great. I've been to live electronic shows though, and it's just much better. Even if technically like the quality of the sound that I'm hearing might be worse in that moment, if the production equipment sometimes just crashes during the set or whatever, like all kinds of things happen. Technically the event might be like lower quality in certain senses, but the actual experience of being there is way better, right? So that's kind of the difference between like LAN and like a high level online game. They're not entirely different, and there's great qualities to both. But
Yeah.
I think that people need to keep that in mind, that like there's this added dimension where even if you showed up to your local event and played against shitters and got fourth, there's like a personal investment that you get. It's more exciting. There's a feeling to it.
I think there's also a level of investment to it where it's like you spent your time, you got your vacation from work, or you got your break from college, or you paid money for a plane ticket, you bought a hotel, you know, you're taking time and money and effort out of your day to be somewhere. There's like more on the line. There's more consequence, you know. If all you do is roll out of your bed and sit in a chair and you lose, you're like, and then you just like get up and go do something else, like eat your bowl of cereal. Like, there's no consequence. But like when you're investing into it and you're spending your time and your effort and the shit's on the line, it's just different, man. You know, it 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 makes you, I don't know, finally feel alive. It's, I don't know, you can't explain it.
I agree with that. Yep.
You know, like rep, like what, you know, you felt how that felt. You felt the intensity. You felt what
Oh,
was
it
on
felt
the
great.
line.
And the thing is, like I mean, yeah, the place that you get in the tournament, yeah, it does matter. I mean, you're gonna feel better, obviously, getting first than you are third. But I think at the end of the day, I mean, even if you place lower than expected, I mean, you walk away with an experience that's authentic, something that you remember the sounds, the smells, the sights, you know,
Yeah.
that you don't get with just playing an online game. I mean, you're in the real world. You get to experience friendships. You get to hang around people. You get to talk. It's so much more fun. Like the experience factor, it is just way more fun for sure.
Well, that's why you play the game, though. I used to tell people this all the time when I competed in other games. Is like, this is why we actually play the match, eh? Like, you aren't always going into a situation where you know what's going to happen. That's why it's exciting. Like, that's called gameplay. Like, we can talk about stats and stuff before the event all the time. Like, we might show up and lose horribly. It could just happen. I don't know, box crashes, whatever. You show up and win the whole thing, right? Like, crazy things happen when you actually play the game. But if you psych yourself up too much and you don't actually do it, then like, yeah, you're not going to have that experience. So
Yeah, what's crazy is like all three first place events that I got were my biggest doubt, and the one most confident event that I went to that I thought we were going to take it all, we didn't, which is crazy to think about.
Right.
yeah, but
Like,
that's the interesting thing though. Like, if you lose though, like that's also an experience.
it is.
You know what I mean? Like, that's part of the story too. If you were watching Star Wars and all that happens is like Luke rolls out of bed, picks up a lightsaber, and just starts like hacking dudes up with no consequences and never experiences any failure, what kind of story would that be? Like, what kind of story would it be if there was like no doubt, no one ever got injured? You're watching
No one
Lord of the
never
Rings.
died.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Frodo never puts on the ring. They never at risk of losing it. Like, yeah.
And it only helps you get better and grow as a person. You grow from that. You improve. You show up
So
to
are
the
there
next
any
event playing
guarantees
better.
if I put on the ring, I'm gonna be okay? No. Well, I don't want to do it. Then it's like that's how
Yeah.
a lot of people are. Like in the comp scene in Halo is like they're like, if I don't have a shoe in, if I'm not guaranteed, I don't want to do it. Or if it's not exactly this like fantasy of what I have in my mind, then I don't want to play it. And it's just like you're cutting yourself short. It's like being like, I'm only gonna like the only way I'll ever get, you know, I see people do this with virginity a lot, like on some other side note, but like I know guys out there that are still virgins because they didn't meet the perfect girl, and they have this like perfect girl in their mind, and they're like, if I'm not with a girl like this, I'll never have sex, and they never end up having sex because they build up this scenario in their head of what this perfect thing is, and it never comes to fruition. Like sometimes you just got to get in there, dog.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like,
Yeah, you have to play the hand that you have, of course.
you gotta play the hand you got, bro, and you just
And you
gotta
gotta
make
appreciate
things
Sometimes
you.
it's good enough too.
Right.
So.
yeah, sometimes it's gonna be better than what you think. It's like, you know, like you don't know what the event's gonna be like. Oh, is it gonna be this? It's gonna be that? Nobody knows. Show up.
Right. Right.
You know,
Nobody knows who's won the event, right?
Yeah,
Like you still have a chance as long as you enter.
yeah. I guarantee you, everybody a week ago wasn't like, yo, this guy, this long hair guy walking around yelling at everybody. This guy's not winning the event. He doesn't even have a fucking team. It goes to show you the truth is stranger than fiction.
Right.
Whereas like we walked in what I thought at the time was like the most stacked team, and we took third. And so like that, and that's honestly what's beautiful about it is the fact that no one really knows. No one really knows who's going to win the Vegas event. Who does anybody know?
Well, that's hilarious. No one knows because no one knows who's going to sign up because it's first come first serve for a lot of these events. So
Yeah,
you don't even know who's going to be there when you're flying on the airplane. You know, unlike these online tournaments, you see the roster beforehand. Okay, well these guys are
but
showing.
that's 3 months. That's 3 months from now. So what happens?
Right.
Who's actually going to show up? Like who? Everybody could sign up.
Right.
I guarantee you, not everybody's going to show up.
Right.
You know, like.
Well, my point was more along the lines of like, a lot of these online tournaments, you see the competition before it happens, so you have opportunities to form better teams or get better teammates. For LAN, there's that mystery factor. You don't have that because you don't know who you're playing whenever you actually go into the event. You know,
No,
it's all a big mystery.
And even if you know who you're playing, you don't know how they play on LAN
versus online.
Yeah.
Correct.
And there's people I know from history, and this is a thing a lot of people don't talk about. Is I know people that are really good online, and then they play on LAN, and it's like you're not the same person, man. Who the fuck is this person? Where's the guy that I knew online? You're not that person, you know. And I've seen a lot of people get smoked on LAN. Maybe it's the environment. Maybe they get in their head. Maybe it's because they're not on their exact same brand TV, or they don't have the same cable. Like they're running HDMI instead of DisplayPort. Maybe the height of their TV's at a weird angle. Maybe it's the lighting in the room. Maybe it's the crowd. Maybe they're getting in their head. But there's certain people that you show up online versus LAN, it's like night and day.
I am absolutely
there's people who get better too.
On LAN, there's some people who are like,
rise to the occasion like crazy.
Yeah, there was this guy. There's a guy that was in my squad named Goat Popov, right? He was this Russian dude, and that motherfucker popped off on LAN, bro. Like I was like, you were all right, and then like I didn't have a teammate, and then I brought him along, and that guy was just taking names and numbers, bro. And I was like, what the hell did you do? Did you eat a Snickers bar or something?
I mean, look at me, bro. I was playing in the Philippines, in a literal bamboo house, on like crappy fiber internet, on a East Asian connection on like 250 ping, running off of pretty much what's a Game Boy. I was switching between my Steam Deck and an Xbox One at 60 hertz, and I was still managing to win games and dropping like 20, 30 kills a game. Like it's totally possible, you know, if you can just adjust to obstacles in your way. I mean, you can do anything. You can achieve anything.
Yeah, I mean, and it also goes to show you. Look what I did. I took literally I took civilians and made an army in one day. I said, "Hey, drop your pitchfork. Take this rifle. You're a Marine now." What? Yeah. Like, imagine me in like Germany in World War II.
All right,
and I'm just like, dude, but I show up to a farm town, and there's a bunch of Germans there, and I'm like, all right, I need a platoon. You guys are no longer farmers. You are now soldiers. Here are your rifles. This is how it works. We're gonna fucking make it past enemy lines, and then we're gonna make it home alive. That's pretty much what I did. You know, like I walked into a farm town, I turned farmers into soldiers, and we made it back alive. You know, so it goes to show you like anything can happen, man. Anything can happen on any given Sunday, bro. Yeah, the truth is strange to the fiction. What were you gonna say? About rep? Are you gonna say something?
No, I wasn't gonna say anything, but I was just gonna say it's on my mind. I mean, we just have a lot of cool stuff. We're not gonna talk about it here, but I think we have a lot of really cool stuff coming lined up here in the near future for Cold Zodiac. We have a lot of opportunities. and a lot of cool things going on in the background that I'm
Yeah.
really excited for.
Yeah, we're definitely not gonna be able to cover everything tonight. I
No,
think covering this topic alone. I mean, I think we've been talking for how long?
it's
2,
almost
3
2
hours.
hours now. 1:49.
Yeah. So I mean, we could kind of like get close to wrapping it up if you want.
Sure.
And then we could go about doing what we do best.
Right.
Fire up the old Xbox.
Right.
Oh, actually, I gotta get food pretty soon too. I'm sure my girl's starving. Um, yeah, man. I just wanted to make sure this was documented. I wanted to make sure we talked about it while it was fresh on everybody's mind. I wanted everybody that was there that could talk about it, who was involved, to talk and say their piece. And I try to make sure everybody got that. You know, that's what I gotta say about that. Anything you guys want to add?
Well, I was looking back at that picture from the PAX event you guys took, and I
Yeah.
have to say, out of everybody in that picture, VHS was definitely, he looked the happiest. That guy had the biggest grin on
Oh
his
yeah,
face. I was really nice to see that.
he was loving it. I mean,
Yeah.
that was I think all 3 of their first event wins ever.
Yeah, that's a cool.
So
He's a cool dude. Definitely seems like a cool dude.
yeah,
I mean, the fact that he's at a gaming store and he has a bunch of retro stuff behind him, that guy's a true gamer. That guy's
Yeah.
a true gamer.
yeah, and now he gets
Yeah.
to sit in his office or whatever, and you can hang his gold medal on the wall and be like,
Yeah.
even if it was for a small moment in time, I was a Halo 2 champion.
Right. Yeah.
And it was
super
and
cool.
it was at an attendance of 55, 60,000 plus people. So there's something to be
Yeah,
said
so
about that.
so if you're watching this and you're like an H3 player, or you're in Europe, or you're in, you play Halo Infinite, something like that, or obviously you're an H2 player, HC player, definitely like join the Discord and just talk to us about stuff. Maybe you're on the podcast talking to us about how, like, boys, you won't believe it, I entered as one person and I won this doubles tournament or something like that. Anything's possible. Just figure out what's out there, and we'll do our best to network and support you. Like, being here, right? Knowing LD50, having these sorts of connections helps Goatman, So we might be able to do the same thing with you as the community grows. And, then we can all brag about it too. We can brag about it with you. We can big you up. It feels good. You know what I mean? It feels good. So if we have, someone else is like, yeah, it's my first event win, you go to an H3 MCC event or something like that, we can talk about it. We can share your cool LAN story.
Very, very cool.
And
So,
also, I'm also, if there's big H2 events going on, I know it sounds random, but if there's big H2 events going on in England specifically, I'm willing to travel. I am looking to put a team together in England and win some H2 events in Europe. So, like, I'm down for that. That's like where I
there's
want to
definitely
outreach.
going to be probably some more events. Like literally last year or this
I
year.
know.
This year, I mean, not last year. This year, there's events in London this year for Halo 2, 4v4. So they're definitely out there for sure.
So I might have to go fly over the pond and make a little surprise visit to see what talent they got out there. But I think I've said too much already. Look at the grin.
Right.
Richie knows exactly what I'm talking
Right.
about.
Right.
It's gonna be a hell of a time. Hell of a team.
Cool. So so I think that's like all we can say on the future plans. But yeah, there's big stuff coming down. So yeah, everyone, thanks for watching. Hopefully the VOD for this isn't just completely fucked up. We didn't have Blake running it like normal. But hopefully this was an entertaining watch. You learned something, and that you find some sort of a local event to go to.